Hello my friends, it's Cassie and welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be playing with some fun Trinity Stamps products. I've got the Ap-PEACH-iation stamp set along with the matching dies. We're also going to be using the double scoop paper because I thought this one in particular looked like a peach ice cream and I really wanted it as my background. I think that's why I love these patterned papers. They just make super quick backgrounds. We're also going to be bringing in the modern embossed rectangles because y'all know I'm obsessed with those. So I'm going to trim this peach paper down and make it look like, or make it the size of a 5x7 so that way when I actually attach things down. Well, you'll see when we get to it. But before I do that, I'm going to stamp out my peach, or my peaches. I'm going to stamp those out onto this like tangerine cardstock. I'm going to stamp that a bunch of times. I just need the peach because I'm going to pull in the matching die that comes separately for this stamp set. And I'm going to die cut out these peaches a bunch of times. I have been loving using my die cuts to make a background. And I think paired up with that little ice cream pattern paper, it worked out really well. So I do want to color with some colored pencils. That's going to be the focus today. And for these die cuts, I'm only going to be coloring the leaves. So I'm going to color all of the leaves on all of these. I'm not going to worry about the peaches themselves. They're going to mostly just be the background, but I definitely wanted there to be a little bit of differentiation between the peach and the leaves. So I'm going to do that for all of those. And then I'm going to start attaching those down onto my ice cream background. Like I said, this was cut down to 5x7. It's not going to end up that way. The reason I wanted to stamp this, attach these down to my paper first before I die cut is because that modern embossed edge that this die will give will do it for all the pieces and for the entire background, and I wanted the peaches to have that as well. And I thought that if I die cut it and then I stuck down my little die cuts on top of that, you'd lose that embossed edge, and I don't want to do that. So now I'm going to trim off the excess using my guillotine trimmer. I love doing this. As I've said before, when you make things look like they go beyond the paper, it just gives this illusion that there's a lot more going on outside of the card. And then I even sometimes will take those pieces that are cut off and I'll attach those down to some blank areas. This time I only do one. And then this is where I'm going to bring in that modern embossed rectangle. We'll run that through our die cutting machine and then we'll have this beautiful embossed edge all around. And I did do that for some of that tangerine cardstock as well. Now, like I said, we're doing colored pencil coloring today, and I stamped out all of my images, and I actually, because I want to use the dies that you can get for this stamp set, I stamped out the images 3 times, focusing, as you can see, this isn't the full image, focusing for this one only on the peaches and the eye really. So I'm going to die cut these kind of, not necessarily in stages, but to get all the pieces die cut, because it's kind of tight together, I have found the easiest way is just to stamp it 3 times. And so I'm putting down my first color on my peach, and that's just an orange color. And when you're coloring with colored pencils, if you're new to colored pencils, or maybe you're not and you just don't know, but the way to work with colored pencils is to be very light-handed. You can get a little heavier later on, but to start out very light-handed, that is going to be your friend. And I tend to actually be a little bit more heavier handed when I'm coloring anyway. So this is a great exercise in learning to control that, how heavy I use my hand. And so my next color was a red color and my third color is a brown color. And it doesn't look good now. As I've always said, whenever I'm coloring, it looks bad before it looks good. So now I'm bringing in that red color to go over the top of the brown just to kind of blend that out. And I'm still going fairly light-handed because with colored pencils, depending also on the brand of colored pencil that you have, you can end up with a very waxy colored pencil. And once you get that wax down on your paper, it's going to be really hard to color over the top of it. In fact, it'll almost be impossible. So this is why you want to go light-handed. And so now I'm finally coming in with that orange and I'm blending that out, still going fairly light-handed doing this. And then kind of working into the center and getting even lighter handed in the center. I just want to get rid of some of those pencil lines. And you can do this with like a Gamsol or a Mineral Spirits, but I tend to just like some of the pencil lines, so I go with pencil mostly, just pencil on pencil and blend and blend and blend until I like the blend. But it's really just kind of whatever you prefer. And I kind of like both, but in this case, I'm just sticking with my pencil for now. So as you can see, as the more you put that pencil down on top of it and color over those lines, kind of going, sometimes circular motions are good too. You can get rid of some of those pencil lines and soften that up a little bit. And I'm getting pretty happy with how that looks. I'll bring in the brown a little bit more here for the stem, and then for our leaves. But our heart, I'm going to die cut this heart on this stamped out image, but our leaves, we're moving on to those. It's the two leaf colors that I used earlier, the light green, and again, light-handed. And then I'm going to bring in that darker green and just blend that out on top of there. And then we're going to move on to the third image that I have stamped out, where we will color the Ap-PEACH-iation and Your Kindness. And so I always love to do some sort of an ombre when I color these letters. I don't know why, I just love the look of it. So we're going to do a yellow. That's going to be our base color for all of our letters on the Ap-PEACH-iation or Ap-PEACH-iate and Your Kindness. Just this light orangey or yellow color. And then the orange that I'm going to bring in is actually the orange that I started with for my peach. So that'll tie those two together. And I'm just going to blend that up a little bit into the A, and I'll do this for all the letters. I'm not going to show you all of it. And then bring back in that yellow just to blend it even more. But we'll do that for all of them. And now we're going to be ready to bring in our matching dies. So here I'll bring in the Ap-PEACH-iate die, tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and do the same thing with the Your Kindness. And then I'll match up the other dies for all of the other pieces, and then we'll die cut those out, as you can see. And then we're going to go ahead and start gluing everything down. I'm just kind of winging it by gluing it on there because I have the idea of how it looks. But if you really wanted to make sure that you're putting pieces down where they should be, you could very easily stick your background into like a Misty or something like that, and then just stamp down the image. It wouldn't even have to be perfect. You could just stamp it down, and then you could glue all of your pieces right on top of what you stamped. But I'm kind of winging it, which may or may not end up being the right choice here at the end. I don't know. But we're going to glue all of our little pieces down, and then we'll move on to the I Really up at the top. And that may not be completely centered where it's supposed to be, but I think it looks pretty good. We're just going to go with it. And I just think this sentiment is so darn cute. And I love the background. I love the peach ice cream kind of look. It's just so stinking cute. And then we'll attach this piece down to our tangerine panel. And I used the biggest Modern Embossed die on that one. So that one has a beautiful embossed edge as well. And then once we get that tacked down to the orange panel, we're going to pull in a card base. And then you could do something on the inside if you want to. I ended up just putting a scrap piece of the peach ice cream in there. And I also missed it, but I do have some embellishments that I put on here at the end as well. You don't get that, but you will see it in the picture. I use the golden glass on there. They're so pretty, and I use the pickup stick to get those on there. But if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.